Hey everybody, and we're back. And I know this is gonna be an extra special episode because my wife is joining me yet again. I am your host, Lawrence Gonzalez, and this is a Financial Griot. And this is my wife.
Hey.
Don't sound too excited, babe.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. I mean, I didn't expect to be back so soon, but it's nice to be back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
This is getting real serious because she started asking me some questions, and I thought they were amazing questions to ask and also respond to, because we're also trying to learn from each other. Since we've been merging our finances and been doing all that together for a while, for over a year. So
more than a year.
Yeah, more than a year. Yeah. So it's been kind of interesting to see and the progress that we've been making. And sometimes I do have to kind of like give updates to my wife because she's a CEO of the house, and I'm like the CFO. I come in with all the information, the little plaster boards, the little, this is the graphs. This is the graph. This is where the graph is going. That's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, boo, trash.
I don't do that.
Nah, so you don't do that?
No.
Okay, now nobody knows. Like everybody thinks you did it. Nah, but ultimately, there's a lot of good questions about our investments and how investments work. So this is going to be a great episode for everybody that's listening, because 9 times out of 10, we do not discuss this enough in our communities, in our households, between our family members. So this is a great chance for everybody to understand the questions and where all these terms are coming from, if they're not 100% on them. Where do you want to start?
We could just start off where my mind was all over the place, because we're having a discussion about our investments and plans for the future, and how we plan on using our retirement funds to help our dividends that we get from our investments to pay for our retirement, essentially. And Lawrence started talking about M1, which I'm sure many of you heard him reference before. And me personally, I was a bit confused because he said, M1, the brokerage account, we will use that in the first half, and then we can start looking at our other And I'm just thinking like, wait, what's the difference between the brokerage account and the IRA? Because we have Fidelity here, T. Roy Price over there, and M1 over here. And it make sense. So that's where this conversation kind of kicked off, trying to understand exactly what is a brokerage account and how does it differ between every other account that we have established at the moment.
Okay, let me take it from the top for everybody that do not know. I guess on IG, I go by the neighborhood finance guy.
You forgot that part?
No, not even forget that part. I'm just trying to give everybody the rundown.
Okay.
So part of it, like, we've been tracking our net worth, tracking the changes, but one of our overarching goals is to retire earlier than our peers. That means anywhere from 25 to 20 years earlier or sooner.
Yes.
So that's the goal. And if you're planning to retire sooner, you do have to consider, like, what are you drawing and where they're coming from. It could get a little complicated because some things has rules and some things do not have the same rules. For example, your 401k, IRA, and even the HSA has different rules of when you can actually take out money without paying a penalty on top of whatever you put in. So overall, the government has created these kind of structures in order to ensure that majority of Americans do not retire broke, by offering things like your 401k, 403b, 457b, and you can contribute upwards to a certain amount every year. Last year next year is $20,500 per single person, or obviously for if you're married, then you could double that. So on top of that, the IRAs, which are either traditional or Roth, you get a limit of $6,000 per year in that one. And they have different structures as well. And the HSA has a limit of $3,650 for 2022 or $7,200 for family. So there's a lot of little caveats, nuances, and all that stuff that gets people very much confused.
Especially the fact that you can invest in your HSA.
Yeah.
Which is also another like, what?
There is levels to this game. I'll try to tell people we got levels out here and try to teach people all the time that this is actually a amazing tool for a lot of different people. So if you can actually invest in those combinations of those three, the 401k, IRA, HSA, or however you combine them to be, they end up being about $30,000 for a single person every year. or
Wow.
$60,000 to a married couple. So if you're
Mhm.
making north of a certain amount of money, let's say if you're making north of 70K as a single person, you likely could take, the entire 30 and invest it in yourself and watch it grow for less than 15 years and you'll be a multimillionaire. It's crazy.
Make the money work for you.
Yes, make money work for you. And you looked at me too into my eyes, make money work for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're making it work for us. So if you're listening, take our tips and advice and make work for you as well, because we all should benefit from this information. But like going back to what you said, you threw a lot of different things out
Terms.
there.
Yeah, I be throwing some
Well,
terms.
you just throwing terms out there, and
Like it's right off
people.
the dome. People think I'm reading it off or something like that. I learned this from beginning to end.
Yeah, but how does that all, like, going back to the brokerage, how does that all relate exactly? Because it's a lot. It's
Okay.
confusing. It really is confusing.
Yes, it is. And a 401k is not a running like we ain't running
It's not
down
a
the street.
race.
It's not a 4K.
You
It's
can't
not
sign
a
up for
10K.
it.
You can't sign up for that
Well, you
one.
can sign up for a 401k, but you can't sign up with
Yeah, you
like
can.
in that aspect.
You got the joke. But ultimately, yeah, like it's a messed up joke to say. But ultimately, the way I actually learned to explain it to people, and the best way I learned to explain it is like brokerages themselves, no matter what the brokerage is, it's kind of like a grocery store. Whatever grocery store is next to you, either it be a Publix with Dixie, Kroger's, Shoppers, Giants, Wegmans, whatever it is, think of them like this is where people go to buy their stocks. Either it be equities, bonds, alternative, crypto, whatever it is, you have to go through a broker. They call them brokerages or brokers because they're the middle guy.
Okay.
So everything at the store, for example, a box of Frosted Flakes would be, if you imagine it, it's kind of like an equity. You got to go, you could go to the store and plop up all your money in the front, but if you're not actually picking out stuff to buy it, you're not actually using your broker. Does that make sense?
Okay, so I go to this grocery store. Let's
Yes.
say my broker is Fidelity.
Yes.
So the store that I'm going is Fidelity. And when I'm at the store looking at the different aisles, aisle 1 is equities.
Yes.
All right. Aisle 2 could be what? Like
bonds, index. Yeah.
Aisle 3, because Fidelity also does
mutual funds, IRAs.
IRA is a different aisle. Okay, so Fidelity has all these different selections in this example for me to choose from, different aisles to shop in.
Yes.
And I could shop each of the different aisles if that's something that I'm interested
or all in. You could buy anything you want at whatever aisle you want.
Or I can leave Fidelity completely because I don't want to shop there at that brokerage firm and go to a different brokerage firm like M1 or Charles Schwab. I think that's another one that's pretty popular, right?
Yes, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, and so on and so forth.
Okay,
yes.
All right. So these different brokerages are like stores, and you can shop at these different stores depending on what's more beneficial to you and your goals.
Yes, or what you like, because something it ends up being like what you like. Like if you like to go to Publix versus with Dixie, it's not like you're getting it's the same box of Frosted Flakes.
Okay,
it's literally the same box. Some places sometimes they got little deals. With like for example, Robinhood is famous for like, hey, if you come in with your friend or if you're the first time at Robinhood, we're gonna give you a free stock.
Okay.
It's kind of like the free sample in the front of it.
So
it's not that good, but it's a free sample at the very least.
All right. So there's stocks at each of these brokerages.
Yes, at all these brokerages, there are stocks, but there are some brokerages that don't have as much. So for example, M1 being newer, it tends to kind of pick out only the best stocks, right? So they have a limited quantity.
To be the best stocks, or
generally what's considered to be overall the most quality stock. So if you have a stock that's just brand new and nobody ever heard of it, a company that nobody ever ain't checking for, it's not going to offer that at M1.
All right.
But places like Fidelity, Vanguards, and Schwab's that have been around for a very long time, they literally have just about everything.
Nice.
Mine is they do kind of have some scrutiny where it's like, I never heard of you, bro. Like you're not coming to the store. Right?
So they vet everybody.
They try to vet. They try to vet. Okay. However, the person that's more notorious for not vetting anybody is Robinhood. They don't care. They're like, oh, you come in to sell? We're like a bazaar, man. We're the trader. Like we're like a marketplace. Anybody comes through. Like, who are you? I don't care. Come in.
Yeah, it's like the farmer's market.
Yeah, farmer's market down the street, open, straight up open quarters. Everybody is.
All right.
And that's what they get in trouble for, technically, because they're not vetting people as much. But for some people, that's the kind of stuff that they like, because some of those stocks that come in out of nowhere could end up being very profitable, or they could completely tank you.
Yeah, so it's the risk. Like, what do
Yes.
you want your risk to be? It's
They
a
don't,
risk
yeah,
regardless,
they don't
but
care. They're like, we don't care. We offer everything.
yeah.
Some people are a little bit more selective. They don't offer as much. So that's really the best analogy for I can say what a brokerage and a broker is. And
Okay.
they use both terms interchangeably, but in truth, they're like the same.
They just want to confuse
Yeah,
people. That's essentially what it
they
is.
literally confuse people all the time. It's the weirdest thing. I personally don't try to delineate what it is as
Mm-hmm.
much more to generally understand that anybody could go to whatever brokerage they want and they could get whatever type of product generally provided by that broker. So some brokers provide everything. They'll have your 401k there, they have IRA there, they have HSAs there, like Fidelity, it covers just about everything.
Yeah.
M1 has the IRA there. They don't have 401k access. They got whatever they can. So
Yeah.
everybody is giving you something. So ultimately, that's the goal. The goal is to realize that you could go to any store, but you can't just stop in the front of the store, park your money, and think it's gonna work out well. A lot of people have trouble with that because they just literally, it's like, I deposited $5,000 in the front of the store.
Yeah.
But like you have to go actually buy something in the store.
I think that was my issue initially because I had my first job, my real company paid job out of college. I had a wonderful manager who gave probably the best advice ever, which I didn't think was anything at the moment, but she was like, you have this money, the company matches, make sure you invest in your 401k in whatever investment plan that they have offered, put the money aside. And it was a Black woman, so she was looking out for us, and she just told us like, this is what you need to do, this is the game, do it, don't ask any questions, just do it. And thanks to her advice, I saved a lot of money when I was with that company, but I didn't do anything with it because I didn't know.
Yeah,
it just sat there. But
yeah. You could deposit into something, but you have to make the allocations to what they are. It's the funniest thing because people are like, my money's not growing. It's like, but your money is stuck in nothing. Like it's just sitting there.
Yeah. So the money wasn't really doing much for me. I mean, it was growing, but it wasn't growing at a rate in which it could have had I allocated into
and you could
things.
allocate it correctly too. Correct. I think that could have been the case where your default allocations for a lot of these 401k, 403bs, and 457bs, they typically default to super safe, which doesn't grow at all. It's like it grows like 0, it goes like 2%, maybe 3% at the bond rate or something like that. It's like the most simple thing ever, but it's not growing at the 20%, 15%, 9%, 8% at the end of the day, or even sometimes 33%. All because the allocations are completely different. So there's people that have retired from their 401k because they were allocated 100% in a way that's actually growing like 30% over, a certain amount of period of time. It's insane.
Yeah.
While other people were completely stuck in a 1%, 2% situation, but they had no idea that they could have been somewhere else, really kind of, skewing themselves towards retiring.
Yeah, and the average person doesn't look at that stuff at
Oh,
all.
no,
because you don't realize, because in your 401k, when they have the breakdown of how your investments are, they use different terminologies. And one term I remember seeing is like aggressive, or like, just something aggressive. Like, how aggressive do you want to be?
I don't want to be aggressive.
That's my first thought. I'm just thinking, I don't want to be aggressive. I think I want to be safe. I want to play safe, but you don't realize at the time, the younger you are, the more aggressive you need to be.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you need to, pull back a little bit because you're not at a position in life where you can take such risks.
You can't out here breaking your back.
Exactly. Get some more bonds, get some things that are more secure, less stocks as you get older. So it's really interesting, honestly, and confusing at the same time if you don't sit down and try to understand it. Perhaps someone like you in the financial grill, Alana, lovely, here to break it down for the average Joe Schmoes.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem too is like some people, they depend on their HR to kind of explain that. But we forget that HR is just people too. Sometimes HR people, they don't even know what those allocations are themselves. A lot of people, they create these systems or they don't understand what they're selling or sharing with others. And that's why you have to ask questions and you have to read the information. And if they don't know, you have to start reaching out to other people because it's your money, it's your time, it's your efforts. And I personally wouldn't want anybody to be working 20 years, only earning like 2%, not knowing that, hey, they could have been earning 20% the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's basically just taking a genuine interest in your personal, finances and how they're being invested. Just like you take a genuine interest in I don't know. If you like to cook, you take a genuine interest in cooking so that you can make the best dishes to make for Bay so that he's happy as well.
Wow, these are
Or I don't know,
turn
let's
down.
not do cooking. Let's
Nah,
do like
it's okay.
fashion,
It's
you
okay.
take
I'm
a
all right.
genuine interest in fashion so that you can look good every day. You take a
Mhm.
genuine interest in Instagram. How many of us have these different apps to learn how to use Instagram, to do the different,
Videos and
slides and
reels.
carousels and
Yeah.
making it fancy, downloading Canva because we have a genuine interest in that so that we can have the best Instagram content and it's just amazing. We get followers. So it's like the same thing. Take a genuine interest in your finances and how you are investing. And if you aren't, how you can invest. Because actually some people with their employers, they don't have options.
Yeah.
I remember I know someone, they had a job previously and they had no investment options at all. It's either you get paid and you use that money afterwards, which whatever medium that you have to do so, or you get paid and you don't. And if you don't have that knowledge that, okay, this money should be invested in something after tax because my employer doesn't have anything to do before tax,
Mhm.
then you just don't save at all. And you're just like,
Stuck. And you're right.
was that up a creek without a paddle?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. You don't want to say the curse word here, like up whatever creek without a paddle. That's what it is. But
yeah.
you're 100% correct on that one. And I'm like, okay, look at the wifey coming through with the
I've got
info.
life experience.
Like
I know
I
things.
see, I see. And she's talking about like there's a lot of jobs. I think it's like upwards to 40% of jobs do not even offer an employer-sponsored plan, and that is a 401k, 403b, 457b. See how I kind of like say employer-sponsored plan?
Yeah.
They change the names. It's
Yeah.
all the same thing. Ultimately, some jobs do not offer that, and that's okay. But you can actually go to a brokerage or broker
Like
and
Fidelity.
like Fidelity
Okay, got
and
it.
get into an IRA.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has generally access to an IRA based if you make a certain amount of money. So if you're not making, if you're a kid, you're not making any money.
Okay.
You can't really get on the IRA.
So
right?
is the threshold like so high that you
It's
can't?
not. It's not a very high threshold. It's basically like this. If you're not making 6K, how can you invest 6K in the IRA?
All right.
The contribution for the IRA limit is 6K. Mm-hmm. So the IRA is going to look at you like, wait, you made $6,000 and you're investing 6K. So how do you live? So I have questions. Like that's IRA. I have questions about your life.
Okay.
So the idea is that you're supposed to make a certain amount of money. So if you're making some money at all, from a job that doesn't have a 401k or such, whatnot, you can actually get into a traditional or a Roth IRA. Traditionals actually get you a tax deductible percentage, and it could get a lot more technical. Mm-hmm. We're not going to get there.
Okay.
But traditional is one thing. If you're not making more than 70K a year, I don't think you need to really think too deeply about getting a Roth, but that's the second one. The Roth itself is tax-free contributions. So it doesn't give you, it doesn't give you any benefits as you take it, but it gives you benefits later on as your money grows. So as your money grows, it's tax-free. Mm-hmm. I think I've kind of reversed it, but as your money grows, it's tax-free.
So when you take it out, it's tax-free.
Yes.
With the traditional, it gets taxed when you take it out.
Yes. As you take it out, it's taxed. So how much you take out will change how much you get taxed.
Gotcha.
So it's an interesting little scenario, but for a lot of people that doesn't, like for people like high flying lawyers who start off making a certain amount, let's say they start off at 50, 60.
Yep.
And then at the end of their career, they're paying, they're getting paid 230,000, 300,000. Let's just say that's the case. For those people, it's probably better off for them to take the Roth because they're going to be taxed every layer. So they're not going to be taxed at the end at 30 or 40%.
Oh, I see. The goal. That makes sense.
So for them, they consider like, oh, if I just take the taxes now and my growth is tax-free, then when I have $1,000, $1 million in my Roth, I have $1 million.
Okay.
Whereas the person that has a traditional IRA and they have $1 million, technically they have $1 million minus how they take it. It's like 15%, 20%, whatever it is.
Yeah. And that tax, it varies as to, when you actually take what the tax rate is or not.
It's the tricky part. It's like, it's based off how much you're taking out at the time.
Okay.
So they know what your game is on the way up per se, but in the end of the day, they're really counting how much are you taking out. Okay. So if you take out 20K, you'd be taxed at 20K.
regardless if you take that 20K out in 2015 or
Yes.
2032.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a little trick you could play with the
Interesting.
game. Yeah. So ultimately, that's how we got to this conversation about why do we have different accounts? What the heck is the after-tax brokerage? And because of the way that we're trying to retire early, what we're structuring now is to have our after-tax brokerage with M1 to have a certain amount of money. Let's say it's 750,000 or maybe almost $1 million. Maybe if we could get there, we have $1 million. And that $1 million, we could shift our investments to be dividends that pay out maybe quarterly or something like that. So ultimately in a year,
you got to back up.
So,
you dropped a new word.
Yeah, quarterly
dividends. Quarterly, I think.
Yeah, like quarterly.
Quarterly is every 3 months if you're listening. So
is it? Yeah, I'm just messing with
Why
you.
Why are we doing this?
It's okay. You just looked at me funny with that, like what?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why you're trying to test me.
No,
I'm
not trying to test you. Go ahead.
But it's about, that's what I was saying. You have to explain what dividends are and how do you get dividends.
Okay.
Because you just started using dividends, like.
Oh yes. Okay. We'll talk about dividends, right?
Okay.
So basically, man, this is gotta get weird. Companies are different. There are companies that's been here for a while, and there's companies that are brand new. Companies that are brand new typically keep a majority of their money invested within themselves in order for them to, invest in R&D, which is research and development, whatever, pushing more product out, marketing, whatever it is. Think about Peloton, brand new company. Zoom, brand new company. Tesla, generally a brand new company. Majority of companies like that keep the money flow within itself, even though their stocks are rising, the amount of money they could borrow from exists, whatever it is, they just use it to grow faster as much as possible.
Yes. Okay.
All companies start off on that trajectory. Eventually, companies plateau. When they kind of like working out, when you plateau and you kind of settle into this is who you are. Things like Walmart, Coca-Cola, AT&T. Target, AT&T, all these things that have been around for like 80, 100 years, they plateaued, so they're not growing as fast as they used to.
Okay.
So if Tesla grew by 50% this year, then something like AT&T could grow like 10% or 8%.
Okay.
Or sometimes you see a company grow 100% in a year. Yeah. That's because all their money is being fueled back into them and they're growing faster.
Yeah.
Older companies, they're not growing that fast. Because they're not growing that fast and they know that they're not growing that fast, they offer what is known as dividends to their investors.
To incentivize them.
Yes. You're using the word incentivize. So ultimately, yes, that's why they do it, because now it's like, hey, keep your money with me, because one, your money is stable.
Yeah.
And second, as we keep growing down this line, you my homie, here's a little cut of the profits.
Oh, okay.
So the more you invest in a company like that, like a dividend paying company, then they drop you a little bit of profit. Companies are different. Like Apple is kind of a growth company-ish. By the same time, it drops a little bit of dividends for the people. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Let that thing trickle down. Yeah. Like it's like, hey, here's 1%. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
But there's some companies that's like, hey, they drop a good 3 or 5% dividends.
Yeah.
Or 6% dividends. Some companies drop 12% dividends.
Wow.
So imagine now that you can keep so in two ways, this is how, now that we got the whole idea of dividends.
Yep.
In two ways, this is how a company grows. It could grow in value through the stock market by itself. So it could grow whatever rate, stock market, whatever, and people buy into it, some people buying out of it, that kind of thing. And it can also grow with dividends.
Okay.
So what people do by retirement, what they try to do is what they call the 4% rule. The 4% rule doesn't require dividends. That means the hope is that your dollars are growing at maybe north of 8%.
Okay.
You're withdrawing 4%. So that means your money generally stays the same and still grows. So that's why you should probably get to like $1 million, $1 million, whatever, because your money gonna stay, growing. Pretty much still growing. No matter if it goes up and down on average, you're gonna still be okay.
Yeah, long term.
Yeah, some people are saying now it's 5%, whatever the percent is, because now the growth is like 9%, in my opinion, whatever. But ultimately, while you grow, you just take what you need, and therefore your money stays the same.
Okay.
On top of that, now, like I said, companies grow in two ways: growth or dividends. Now you don't even have to touch the top part. You could probably take the 3% dividends off your actual account.
Nice.
So 3% off of $1 million is $30,000.
And that's our goal.
Yes, 30,000 from that, and then we get other stuff, so on and so forth. But that's a solid 30K.
Wow. And that's,
if you generally like right now, if somebody's living off of 60K a year, family of four, that's kind of how much they're paying for themselves.
Yeah.
Technically, around by 2040, that'll be $100,000 that you need to live, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, you need to break even that number. So for us, that 100K, let's say if not even 100K, we probably just need 75. 75 minus the 30. Okay. That's already out the window. And then we'll play around with other things that we plan. Either be rental property, either be side business, side hustle, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But ultimately, our money is already growing. We could always take money out.
Yeah.
But we're also getting, on top of the growth, dividends that we can actually pull out.
Yeah. Guaranteed.
The dividends are taxed at like 15%. That's why some people, they rather get paid in stocks, because then you could take the dividends at 15%, not necessarily at your ordinary income. It's either 15%, it's either 0, 15, or 20, I think. That's the numbers.
And that's really good, because if you're making, I don't know, upwards of
if you have
300,000
let's say you have 3 million in there.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to pay taxes generally.
Yeah. Good way
it kind of wild.
Tax avoidance.
Tax avoidance is illegal. No, tax evasion is illegal. Tax avoidance is completely legal.
Okay.
Let's say it again.
Say that again.
Tax avoidance is completely legal. Tax evasion is not.
Okay.
So the ideal is that you're basically structuring your money in such a way that it grows without you necessarily touching it, and the money that you're touching is being taxed at a different rate. So you could almost, this is what I'm trying to figure out, how we're going to be in retirement not paying no taxes.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, if I could figure that, I think I got it. I think I got, the ideas. I got some plays in my book. I got some plays in my book. So that's what we're talking about here. That's why we got us into the whole brokerage. What is a brokerage? What's the after tax? And on top of our after tax brokerage with the dividend game, we have our 401ks growing really nicely. Yeah. We got our IRAs out there. We're going to have our HSAs for a major medical whatever. We're going to knock that out with the HSA investing. So there's a lot of things that we're going to end up doing that's just going to pretty much have us set.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mind is just like,
it's like, oh yeah, I'll tell you, I've been looking at people like, we've been trying to drop games on these people. We're trying to let them know.
Yeah. It's just, whether or not you're interested enough to pick it up,
just,
if you're going to,
like pasta, I'm just sticking it on the wall, see if it sticks.
Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes a while for people to try to get this information. You could be throwing the pasta on the wall for, 10 years. It's not till year 12 that they decide to pick it up. And, so it's just a matter of when do you want to start? Do you want to start now, or do you want to start 10 years from now and then be mad at yourself, kicking yourself in the butt for not starting earlier? Yeah. At the end of the day, you can't, be mad at the world for not starting earlier.
Yeah, because it's a lot of this is compounding. Your money is working for you, is growing for you, is doing majority of the work for you. And ultimately, even right now, if we stop, we're already at we're coast-fi, what they call coast-fire, which is financially independent but coasting. So we could coast, like we could literally not invest at all, and we still retire multimillionaires. Okay. In the game. Yeah. Our investments are pretty high right now. We as young black people, I'm kind of shocked. We got to, I'm personally shocked by it, even though I think about it, all this logistics and stuff. I'm still very grateful, very impressed by just how everything works when you put, you just actually do something with your money.
Yeah, I'm shocked as well. When I logged into my individual 401k investments and then also our contributed investments, I'm just like, whoa, this is how it's growing. Because I remember when it was very low for myself as a single person. So if you're in your own self looking at your investments and your accounts, you're like, man, have that feeling, I'm never going to get to where they are, or, it's going to take forever. It's okay if it takes forever. You just have to start, because the money just compounds and grows at a rate that you won't believe once you start. You just have to start somewhere. It's not going to, be an overnight thing. You're not going to be like a millionaire in a year just because you started this today, but just think about long term how this is going to benefit you and then, essentially your family and for generations to come. It's going to just be a long term thing. So just getting that financial literacy and that knowledge and understanding now and passing it along to the next person, your friends, your family. So y'all could be rich and retired, bougie together in the Maldives every summer.
In the Maldives, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't want to go to the Maldives. The Maldives, Dubai. You could be doing all of that, you and your friends, just as long as you make those steps necessary today so that you can live the life you want tomorrow.
Yeah, that dividends though, them dividends, even $30,000, $40,000 dividends straight up, like it's insane.
Yeah,
and you could use that for travel, like you literally use it for whatever you want.
Exactly, and the nice thing I remember you showed me is that you can actually look up to see what the dividends are being paid out for each company before you decide to go to the brokerage to get that stock or whatever you're doing. I'm trying to bring everything together.
Go to the store, get that
before
stock.
You go to the store to get your stock or whatever, you can see what you're going to get paid and whether or not that's going to be a good decision for you. So you can make educated decisions as to how you're putting your money in if you want to spend that extra time doing the research.
Shoot, I'm gonna blow everybody's mind with this final piece. Is that
you haven't blown our minds enough.
This is secrets that you need to, hey, you're not gonna find it anywhere else. So think about when you go into that store, right? Remember those little chips that we used to get, like the Fritos package and assorted packs?
Yeah, variety packs.
All right, cool. So you can buy a stock on its own, or you could buy a variety pack.
Okay.
Why do you want a variety pack? Because sometimes every kid at that school or every kid at your crib is not gonna like all the flavors.
Okay.
So you kind of just like you're gambling and you're ensuring that some people like some flavors, some people might like the Fritos, some people like the Cheetos, the Lay's, and stuff like that. So ultimately, what people are buying is ETFs. Exchange traded funds. So it's like a group of stocks.
Another random word.
Okay. That is it. It's all this is a group of stocks. So it's kind of like getting remember even the assorted packs of cereals, the little boxes of cereals.
Yeah, I remember.
So imagine instead of just selling one thing like corn pops, if you're selling that, you're only gonna get the people that like corn pops.
Okay.
If you get nothing but like Frosted Flakes, that entire box of Frosted Flakes, you only get kids that like Frosted Flakes.
Yeah.
However, when you get the assorted pack, you minimize the risk of not, of missing all these other stuff.
So you don't I get it. So you don't put all your eggs in one basket with an ETF.
You don't put all your eggs in one basket with just one thing.
With one, okay. So instead of me buying 100 shares of Coca-Cola, right? I can get an ETF and I can get Coca-Cola, Pepsi, maybe Apple.
Yeah.
Maybe even Walmart, whatever's thrown within that ETF bundle. It's like a bundled way to get stuff.
It's like a bundle of hair. Every time you say bundle, I just said I heard bundle. I heard bundle. That's all I heard. About to go get me a bundle.
Okay. So ETFs, do they categorize ETFs so that you can just do like an ETF for healthcare, an ETF for technology?
There are ETFs like that. There's a lot of different types of ETFs, and some people create their own level of ETFs. So you could get like something called a meta ETF or something that has nothing but let's not go that deep. No, healthcare ETF, right? Okay. Or you could get like this thing called JETS. This is one of the ones I like because it's so simple. The name is like sells itself. The JETS ETF is all about the airline companies in the US. See, it's Jets, and it has Boeing in there because it's also the plane that the people use, so therefore it's in there. You have American Airlines, you had JetBlue, that kind of stuff. So when you buy the Jets ETF, you're buying generally the travel one, the flight travel.
Got it. So when you search for an ETF, you search for just like you search for a stock, but you just use that ETF name.
You could search, you could definitely search for ETF the same way you search for a stock, and you can actually buy it just like a stock. So it operates like you said, it's a bundle. It's all together.
Okay.
It's just one thing. One of the ones that people love to push is VTI, which is the Vanguard Total Index Fund.
Okay.
So it just basically means all the companies that are generally represented in the index,
Is an
which
index different from an ETF?
an index is not different. I don't want to say that. Well, okay. Let me scale that again. Like blow
Please
people's
do.
minds.
Please do.
ETF, an index. An index is just a metrics.
Okay.
So the S&P 500 is just, let's say, Standards and Poor's. That's actually the name of the company that did it. It basically says, well, we're going to only calculate the top 500 companies in the US.
Yep.
And we're going to track them.
Yes.
As they do well, we're going to post, this is how they're doing as a group. Technically, it's like an ETF, but it's just a metric.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So it's just tracking what they're doing. So other companies, the brokerages, come in and they're like, hey, I could create an ETF based off of this index.
Oh.
So Vanguard created a total stock index that's based off the index. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So therefore it's tracking along with the index.
Okay.
So the top companies themselves are represented in that index that's also tracking with they're all in the ETF that's also tracking with the index.
Man.
Yeah. So some people, instead of doing the hard work, why do all that hard work?
Just let it do it for you,
because it's basically diversified anyways. It's calculating all the companies doing well. So if this thing fails, that means everything has fallen.
Yeah,
that means
the whole
just like
market's crashing.
like the 2020 March, everything kind of tanked. So the VTI tanks too. But when things are doing well as well, everything goes up. But nothing ultimately stays down forever. But at the very least, you're going to crawl back up with everything else.
Okay.
Because there's some companies, when they tank, they stay tanked.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in something like a VTI, a bundle, that means some of them that tanks for sure is out there, but there's a whole bunch of other ones dragging you up. Yes. Yeah. Carrying the team. That's the best analogy.
All right.
So that's the whole point. You want some people doing well. Some people, you don't want everybody to do bad, but some people will ultimately do bad. And that's the way you ride the wave.
Wow.
So you learned it. You got the brokerage, broker, index, ETFs, equities, bonds, stocks, dividends, withdrawals, 5%, all that good stuff. But ultimately, this has been phenomenal because I love
insightful. My goodness.
Yeah, I love the fact that you kind of brought up these questions because it's great for me to kind of bounce it back off of you and for you to know, what all our money is doing.
Yeah, it's great.
Because
it's great information.
Yeah. So you want to leave anything? Because I could close it out.
I think you do a great job closing it out, babe. And you've done such a good job so far. And I hope everyone has really taken a lot of information and essentially just apply it to your life. You don't have to apply everything at once. Don't overwhelm yourself. Please don't. Take bits and pieces that you can apply today and do that. And maybe later you integrate something that you learned today into your life. But like I said, just start because it doesn't hurt you to start today.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this to everybody. First and foremost, just take your time with this information yet again. And the same token, just have fun with it, right? Yeah. Just don't take it too deep. You can always rewind this episode, get all the way back to the very beginning. You listen to it, and I would also recommend that you talk to somebody else about this, like one of your best friends. Say, hey, I just listened to this. Can you listen to this with me, or can I bounce these ideas? Because the more and more you talk about it, the more it's easier for you to understand the concept, and it's easier for you to share that concept with somebody else, and then you can make better decisions quicker. The reason I remember all of this because it took me a very long time to process this. I didn't know what all these pieces were, but the more I had conversations with others about it, it helped me retain the information. And it showed me that, hey, one thing I didn't know, you can even mix match things together. You could get a 401k and IRA together. I didn't know you could do that until the year number 2. I was like, you can do this?
Yeah.
It's legal? This is what we can do? I'm like, but nobody explained it. So I always thought I just only had one option.
Yeah.
And the more I realized, you can have this, you can have that, you can have your after tax doing its own thing as well. And all of it you're gaining throughout the process.
Wow.
With that being said, wow, again, an amazing episode. This has been your host, Lawrence Delva Gonzalez, with his wife,
Doreen Delva Gonzalez.
We're out here, extra special episode for anybody thinking about investing and ideas. What are the terms? What are the conversation you need to have? And thank you for actually being here. And be sure to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and definitely see you on the other side. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.